Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mark Moss Show, where we talk about the decentralized revolution each and every week. Of course, looking at it through the lens of politics, finance, and technology. And the technology, of course, being Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies that are changing the world. And boy, there is a lot going on at the intersection of that. That's where we like to focus. And we can see the intersection of that today from all the political side, the financial side, and the technology side. And specifically, I'm talking about some news that came out this week from the European Central Bank. The Euro, the European Central Bank. And if you're listening to this in the United States, you're saying, well, what the heck do I care about the Euro? Well, you care about the Euro because obviously our markets are very connected. You also care about it because what's happening over there is kind of like a smaller test bed of what will probably be tried over here at some point. And I think it also illustrates exactly what's happening and where things are going. So the ECB, European Central Bank, met this week. The head of the European Central Bank, the ECB, Christine Lagarde, who, by the way, is a convicted criminal, and she's still in charge of the European Central Bank. She's previously of the IMF, International Monetary Fund. They met this week to talk about the digital euro, a common European project. So we talk a lot about money going digital. And of course, we talk about cryptocurrencies. So there's the Bitcoin, et cetera. And then we have the governments that want to try to control it and are using something called central bank digital currencies. So the digital euro, or a central bank digital currency, is what we're talking about. And I wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that they talked about in this meeting. We know that they're coming. We know that because they've told us as much. We know that China has already rolled theirs out. And of course, why wouldn't China? A central bank digital currency is the ultimate tool for control. And we know that because they've told us that. I played a clip, I believe it was last week, of Augustin Karsten. He's the head of the BIS. The BIS is the central bank above all central banks. And he said as much in that wording. He said that it is a tool for total control. So it's not just speculation. This is what they're telling us. As a matter of fact, I believe I still have that clip available. Let's see. We got it right here. Let's just play it right here.
All our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today.
Okay, so I take them at their word. Total control. So let's take a look at what they said in this meeting this week. Couple things. So one, she gave an address, Christine Lagarde, head of the ECB, gave an address to the European Union to talk about this. And she says, maintaining citizens' trust in money and payment services in the digital age is an important objective in itself. It's interesting. It's not just an important objective. It is the most important objective because there is no such thing as intrinsic value. All value is subjective. And so people have to trust. People have to assign value to that. If they don't trust it, if they don't assign value to it, then they won't use it. We see this happen all the time. We talked about in a previous segment, the tulip mania in Holland, where people thought tulips were more valuable. They had trust, but then all of a sudden nobody wanted tulips and they crashed. We saw it with Beanie Babies. And so we assign trust to things, but in Venezuela, they print so much money, nobody trusts it anymore. It's laying all over the streets. Nobody even bothers to pick it up. So maintaining citizens' trust in money and payment services in the digital age is an important objective. No, it's the most important objective. If nobody trusts the money, they're not going to use it, period. It says that it's the basis of our economies to function effectively. Yeah, everyone has to have a money that they all trust. If I give you a money that you know that I can just go back into your account and take back from you, you won't trust that. You're not going to accept that, right? Okay, now she says... She says the model for payments is undergoing a potentially disruptive transformation led by three developments. So what are the three developments? First, people are increasingly paying digitally instead of using cash. Yes, I don't want to see cash disappear. Cash is very important because cash is private. If I hand you cash, no one needs to know about that transaction. It's between you and I, and no one needs to be in the middle of that. If I pay you for something via Venmo, Venmo goes to my credit card goes to my bank, and my bank talks to your bank, and your bank talks to your credit card, and your credit card goes to Venmo. There's like all those steps in the middle. Everybody has a say in that. Everyone takes a piece of that transaction. Everybody could censor that transaction if they want. If I hand you cash, no one needs to know. No one needs to know. And so I like cash. I don't want it to go away, but we're paying things digitally. So I pretty much pay for everything with my debit card and my credit card. I get paid electronically. I send wire transfers. That's just the day and age. As a matter of fact, over 85% of all payments are done digitally now. And we have the Venmos, and we got the PayPals, and we got the Cash Apps, and we got the wire transfers and the debit cards, etc. But it says that as this continues to trend, as cash is used less and less, public money, being government money, could ultimately lose its role as a monetary anchor, which is true, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. We should always have innovation. We should always have competition. Second, in the absence of a public anchor, so if as more people move to digital, public money, government money, could lose its role. And in the absence of that public anchor, the emergence of new kinds of digital assets could harbor instability and confusion among citizens about what is money and what is not. So if we have all these new types of digital money and assets, it could cause confusion among people. You know, the people are just too stupid. They don't know. We have to tell them what to do because what would they do without us, the government? They'll never get along. I mean, they won't even know what money is. That's what she said. I'm quoting her. Confusion among citizens about what is money. They won't even know what money is unless we tell them. That's what she's saying. I mean, it's just insanity. First of all, what is money? Well, money's communication. Money communicates value. Money is used to store my value. It's used to store my energy. So I exert my energy digging a hole. If I don't need to use that money then gets paid back to me. I dug that hole. That person pays me in money. And that money sits there and allows me to, that's my energy. I expended energy to dig the hole. I save it in the money. And now I could use that money at a later date, tomorrow, to not have to dig the hole because I have money. That's what money is. But apparently we need the government to tell us what money is. It says that, take, for example, crypto assets, she says. Their unbacked variants, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, are too volatile to act as means of a payment. So, one, I would agree with her on that. Yes, they are too volatile to act as a means of payment today. Money is emergent. Money evolves over time. There's a path. First, it starts as a collectible. If enough people collect it, like the rich buy fine art and cars and things like that, if enough people collect it, it could, doesn't always, it could evolve into a store of value. So the rich store their wealth in fine art and collectibles. It could go from a collectible to a store of value. Then maybe if it has the right attributes of money, it could evolve to the next stage, which would be a medium of exchange. She's saying it's not that today. Sure, it's only been around for a decade. Give it some time. It's getting there. It has the right things. And then third, she says, the entry of big techs into payments could increase the risk of market domination and dependence on foreign payment technologies with consequences for Europe's strategic autonomy. How dare anybody cut into our monopoly over the financial system, our ability to manipulate and inflate the monetary system. How dare anybody try to get in on that? That's our game. That's our monopoly. And we not only have a monopoly over money, we have a monopoly over violence. And we will use that violence to make sure we don't lose our autonomy over money. That's what she's saying here. She didn't talk about the violence part. But she said that if we let big tech get in, we, the government, could lose our strategic autonomy. Which, of course, yes, that's my goal, by the way. I am on a mission to separate money and state. We want to take it out of the hands of the people. The European Central Bank just met, and Christine Lagarde, the convicted criminal that runs that bank, was given an address. And she was talking about this new digital payment. Talking about designing the digital public money, she said, quote, issuing a digital euro would indeed safeguard people's confidence. So people don't have confidence in a paper euro, but if it's digital, then people would have confidence in it. What changes fundamentally? Now, if I have a physical piece of paper, a euro or a dollar or whatever, in my hand, I know I have it. There's no counterparty risk. If I put it into the bank, there's risk. That bank may not give that money back to me. They may go insolvent. There's counterparty risk. If I have it in my hand, then I have confidence I have it. It's under my mattress, right? But if they issue a digital euro, then it would safeguard my confidence? No, it would actually take away my confidence more. She said, okay, so here's the part I really want to get to, privacy. So she said, the co-legislators, the lawmakers, must define the balance between competing public objectives in the policy areas. So the two aspects that they want to compete are, one is privacy. So let's talk about privacy first. So she says the first one is privacy. In our public consultation, so the European Central Bank, just like the Federal Reserve in the United States did as well, they opened it up for public comment. Let's see what the public have to say, which, of course, they say that we're in a democracy. We're not. We're in a republic. But either way, it's they should listen to us. The government works for the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. So, of course, they should care what we have to say. So they open it up for comment. What do the people say? So that's what she's saying. In our public consultation, when we asked for stuff, 43% of respondents, almost half, ranked privacy as the most important aspect of the digital euro, well ahead of any other feature. So it's clear that we want the digital euro to be if we want it to be attractive, it needs to be designed in a way that meets people's privacy expectations. That's what she says. Almost half of the people surveyed say it's the most important thing, way above anything else. So if we want it to be attractive, it has to have that thing. But, here's the but. There's always a but. But, I'm quoting her, but full anonymity, such as offered by cash, does not appear a viable option, in my opinion. What do we care about your opinion? You're a convicted criminal anyway. It doesn't appear a viable option, in my opinion. It would contravene other public policy objectives. So it would contradict. It would go against other public policy objectives. Not what the public wants. Never mind. The public want privacy. But it would go against other public objectives, meaning what we want to do to the people. That's what she's saying. Such as ensuring compliance with anti-money laundering rules and combating the financing of terrorism. Because, your $600 is going to fund terrorism. Never mind the $4 billion that we sent to terrorist nations. Never mind the weapons that we left in Afghanistan. Never mind all the weapons that were sent to Ukraine and going to who knows where. Never mind that. Your $600, though, we better know where that's going by. Because, shoot, you could be, laundering money and funding terrorism with that. How dare you? Only we're allowed to do that. We're the monopoly on that, right? So listen to what she's saying. Although they told us it's the most important thing by going away. This is what the big thing want. It's just not really, it contradicts what we want. So she says it would contravene other public objectives such as ensuring compliance with anti-money laundering rules and combating the finance of terrorism. And it would also make it virtually impossible to limit the use of digital euro as a form of investment. So it would make it virtually impossible to limit the use. Listen to what she said. Remember what Augustine Carson from the BI said. It would give us total control. So she says that if we did this, if we gave the people what they wanted with the digital euro, the CBDC, it would make it virtually impossible to limit the use. They don't want you to use your money as you see fit. Yeah, it's your money, and yeah, you sacrificed and gave up your life energy to get that money, but it's not really yours. It's not yours to use as we want. We have to be able to limit the use. That's what she says. Think about these words that they're saying. It would make it virtually impossible to limit the use. Yes, that's the point. My money is my money. I should be able to use it as I see fit. What else? Okay, the next part, the legal tender status part. The second aspect is the legal tender status. Although an acceptance obligation has to be weighed against principles such as contractual freedom and competition, so meaning that, we should have the freedom to use it as we want, we should bear in mind that it is a constitutional feature of cash as central bank money to be legal tender. Now, why does it have to be legal tender money? Now, I can't speak about every other country, but in the United States, it's still a free country. We are the land of the free. We don't need the government to tell us what we can accept as forms of payment. If I want to come over to your house and build a fence for you in exchange for a good or service that you want to give to me, that's my labor. I can give you my labor. If I want to trade you this iPhone that I have in my hand, you can accept this iPhone as your payment. If I want to send you Bitcoin, then you can accept Bitcoin as your payment. We don't need the government to tell us what we can accept as payment or in exchange, I should say, for goods and services. It can be my labor. It can be another product I have. We don't need it to be legal tender. And that's a big problem that I have with all these people that say we need regulations in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. No, we don't. We don't need it. We don't need the government to tell us what we can do. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of the United States. The government does not give us permission to do anything because we're a free country. The government only takes away our rights. Now, that's an important point. At the week of these midterm elections, everyone's going to vote. The first thing my dad told me when I turned 18 is, remember, every law you go to vote for, whether good or bad, is less freedom. So we're a free country. We're free to do things. The government tells us what we can't do, like you can't kill somebody. You can't rob somebody. Okay, those laws restrict our freedom, and they should be, all right? But we don't ask for permission. We don't ask for laws that tell us what to do. So we don't need that. But she said a side effect of illegal tender status may be that it facilitates network effects, allowing citizens to have the option to, quote unquote, pay anywhere and easily access the digital euro. That would be a problem. We don't want that. We want to control it. We want to make sure it's only used in our country. They said that the digital euro may have transaction limits and store of value caps. Exact limits are not set in stone, but Panetta mentioned a 3,000 euro store of value limit. So you can't store more than 3,000 euros. That's hoarding. You can't hoard the money. You got to spend your money. How dare you save? Let us take that. They want to put a 3,000 euro limit and 1,000 transaction monthly limit. A 1,000 transaction monthly limit. Because there will be risks that people could use these possibilities to move money, and we can't control that. This is what's coming. This is what central bank digital currencies are. Understand what this is. So when you hear it being talked about, you know what's happening. Talk about these ideas with your friends and family to educate them as well. This week, we saw big news coming from the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, talking about regulations on cryptocurrencies. Now, I'm not a fan of trying to apply a 100-year-old law, the Howey test, of what is a security and try to apply that to cryptocurrency. I don't think it fits. It's kind of like a square peg in a round hole, but nevertheless, it's where we are. And we saw this week the SEC came out and decided, went to court against a platform called LBRY, LBRY. And LBRY is sort of like a decentralized YouTube. It's also known as Odyssey, which, by the way, my YouTube videos are on Odyssey, so you should check me out there. Either on YouTube, just search Mark Moss on YouTube, or on Odyssey. And YouTube is obviously a very centrally controlled and centrally planned and manipulated platform. They kick anybody off that they want. But Odyssey is like a decentralized version. The problem that they had is that they launched their own token, LBC, a token. And the SEC sued LBRY last March, saying that they sold its native LBC token in violation of federal securities laws. It says here, the SEC sued LBRY in March of 2021, alleging that LBC tokens were securities and that the startup had violated securities laws by selling them without registering with the agency, with the SEC. Now, LBRY pushed back, said that the LBC tokens were not securities and that the SEC did not give it fair notice that its sale of LBC was subject to securities laws, thus violating the company's right to due process. But again, we have securities laws. A lot of people wanted to operate in this gray area, and thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of companies have gotten away with it because the SEC hasn't really formally come out and put the boot down, so to speak, and they haven't really aggressively pursued and prosecuted these types of companies. It says here, though, that the federal judge of the District of New Hampshire ruled saying that, quote, no reasonable trier of fact could reject the SEC's contention that it offered a security, and LBRY does not have a triable defense that it lacked fair notice. So they basically said, nah, it doesn't matter. The founder of LBRY, Jeremy Kauffman, has maintained that the outcome of the case would have sweeping implications for the wider crypto industry. And the reason why it has sweeping implications is because the way the legal system works is they use case law. Case law sets precedent. So whenever an attorney is arguing a case, they're going to say, well, in this case versus this case, this is what happened. And the more that case is being used or cited, the stronger it becomes. And so this case law could then have sweeping implications, because then other cases after it could be tried pointing back to this. It says that it establishes a precedent that threatens the entire U.S. cryptocurrency industry. This is from the founder, Kauffman. He said, under the SEC versus LBRY standard, almost every cryptocurrency, including Ethereum and Doge, are securities. Yeah, well, that's basically right. That's basically right. It says, one significant case the LBRY ruling could impact is the SEC suit against Ripple Labs and two of its executives who have been charged with selling $1.3 billion in unregistered securities. Of course, we're talking about Ripple Labs, which is selling the XRP token, which that XRP army is strong, and they're probably mad for me even saying something like that. But again, I'm just quoting him. So don't kill the messenger. Don't kill the messenger here. But yeah, I mean, if they're claiming that the LBRY is a security, then it makes sense that Ripple Labs XRP token is also security. Ripple Labs' defense is the same. It's hinged on its claim that its native token XRP is not a security, and that by failing to provide clarity on whether XRP was a security, the SEC did not provide fair notice. That's exactly what LBRY tried to argue, and the SEC slapped him down, right? As I said, the judge actually said LBRY does not have a triable defense that it lacked fair notice. So if they don't, how does XRP and Ripple Labs have that? And again, that's the whole reason why the founder, Kauffman, is saying that this is bad. It's bad for everybody else. Now, this is the ruling so far, and it means that LBRY's case will not go to trial. So it's done. A status hearing to determine what the next steps is slated for the end of the month, November 21st. And we'll come back and see what it is. Now, the LBRY has been on Twitter. They've been all over social media talking about this. They said, look, we don't know what to do. What could we have done? We didn't know. They didn't give us clear guidance. They didn't give us advance notice. How were we to know what to do? We tried to do the best that we could, but you didn't give us fair notice. I commented on that, and I said, well, what you could have done is not launched your own token. That's the whole problem. They could have launched the platform, which allows me to post my YouTube videos on there in a decentralized manner. They could have done that. There's nothing wrong with what they did. It's the token. They created a token out of thin air, the LBC token. They created a token and sold it out of thin air. That's the problem. So the problem isn't the platform. The problem is the token. And what is the token called? It's the LBC token, yeah. LBC token, LBRY, there we go. And let's take a look at the token. It's valued at 1.2 cents per token. If we look at the year-to-date valuation, the market cap was as high as 24 million, so not that big, and now it's down to 7 million. The tokens were as high as 3.5 cents, and now they're down to 1.2 cents. So, not a huge impact on that. If we look at when they came out of the gate, though, wow, look at this. When they came out of the gate, here we are back in January of 2018. They had a $157 million valuation. In April of 2021, they had a $172 million valuation. And today it's all the way down to 13. So be careful what you put your money into. It could crash down very hard, especially It's gone from 14 million to 7 million. So it's dropped in half, 50% valuation drop since this news broke. And so if this news breaks on Ripple Labs and XRP, if it breaks on any other cryptocurrency, you probably expect about the same thing. Expect to lose about half your money. Again, don't kill the messenger. That's just the news. What else? Oh, man. As this continues to ramp up, we continue to see lots of pain across the cryptocurrency space. The bear markets cause a lot of infighting. The bear markets are times to invest. They're the time to build. But it's also the time, because money gets tight and people start going broke, that you see lots of problems happen. We saw the Solana blockchain has dropped dramatically as well in the past 24 hours. And part of it is that 1,000 of their validators went offline. What the heck does that even mean? It's supposed to be a decentralized protocol, but of course, it's not. They're all hosted on a cloud provider that shut them all down at the same time. And Solana stake holders are unable to get their money back out. Some decentralized protocol that is. By the way, the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is on sale today, fire sale, with the news of FTX. The FTX exchange is crashing and burning. Looks like Binance took them out. Potentially might take them over. We don't know. But it dropped all the way down to a pretty nice discount, wicked down to about 17,500. It's now about 18,500. I'm wearing my HODL shirt in a celebration of that. I typically wear just a black shirt, but I'm wearing this HODL shirt. This shirt was sent to me as a gift. So shout out to RD Fine Art. You can find them on Twitter, or you can check out their website, Ron D. Gaspier's. Check them out if you want one of these HODL shirts. They make some really killer stuff, some cryptocurrency and Bitcoin merchandise. But anyway, the HODL is to hang on for dear life. Turmoil in the markets, drive the price down. We look at that as an opportunity, but it scares some people out and they sell it. And that's kind of what happens. We saw big news this week. News broke that the U.S. seized 50,000 Bitcoins related to Silk Road Marketplace. Now, a lot of people would see that headline and go, wait a minute, I thought Bitcoin was censorship resistant. I thought it was immutable. I thought it was safe. How could they seize it? How does the government seize it? It says the Bitcoin, which was obtained in 2012, was related to the darknet marketplace Silk Road. They seized 50,676 Bitcoins. It was the largest cryptocurrency seizure to date, but has since been surpassed by the 70,000 Bitcoin seized in February in relation to the hack of the Bitfinex crypto exchange. So it's the second largest now. It was the largest at 50,000. Now there's a bigger one at 70,000. The coins were found at an address in Georgia connected with James Zong. The feds also found $661,000 in cash as well as various precious metals. Now, what happens here? Bitcoin isn't able to be hacked. They can't just steal it. The feds can't just come in and take your Bitcoin. They can't just find it and get it. Here's what happened. They went to the guy's house and they found his wallet where he had it. So think about Bitcoin like this. You have a public address and you have a private key. The private key is basically what secures it. So if we were like in the gold age, for example, and I had gold and I went and buried the gold in my backyard or out in the desert somewhere and I made a map. So I have a treasure map so I can go back and find my gold again. And then I have, at my house, I have that treasure map. And if the feds come and break into my house and they find my treasure map laying on my coffee table or on my countertop or on my desk, well, then they're like, hey, well, Mark, we know where your gold is. We're going to go get it. All right. But if they storm my house and they can't find my treasure map, let's say that I've hid it very well, or let's say I don't even have a treasure map because I remember in my head where I put the gold. Then the Fed comes to my house and says, hey, Mark, give us the gold. And I'm like, no. They're like, tell us where it is. I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you. And so Bitcoin is similar, where I have a private key that enables me to move that Bitcoin if I want. Now, the only way the feds can get this 50,000 Bitcoin, or any Bitcoin for that matter, is if they can get a hold of the private key. Now, what happens is a lot of times is people back up the private key, which you should, by the way. If you have a private key in your wallet or wherever, you want to back that up. And the way you would do it is just go into your app and say, back up, and it's going to give you 12 words. That's your seed phrase. Now, these 12 words are random, monkey, banana, ocean, boat, rope, whatever. And you have 12 random words. All right. Now, you can choose to memorize those 12 words, which is like you would memorize the treasure map, so you know where the gold is. You could write those 12 words down, which might be better, just like making a treasure map on paper. The problem is, how do you secure that treasure map so people don't get it, which is the same as how do you secure those 12 words that you write down. Now, a lot of people make the mistake and they write those 12 words down in their computer. They put them into Google Docs, they put them into Evernote or something like that. Then Google or hackers could potentially find that backup phrase. And if they do, they can just get those 12 words. They can go download any app on their phone. They could plug those 12 words in and instantly have access to your funds. So my advice is, if you're going to write them down on physical paper. Potentially, you could put that physical paper in a safe. That way, if your house burns down or floods or someone breaks in, they can't get a hold of that paper. Now, if they get your safe, that's a problem. But you want to protect that. Now, you could, like I said, not write it down. You could just memorize it. Other options I've heard people do is, for example, you could have like a book, maybe a journal that you keep, maybe a diary or something like that. And you could write out text, and like every word, every first word on the line is one of your seed phrases. So you kind of have like this like cryptographic storage of your seed phrase. I've heard of people doing it like they do like a photo collage on their wall, and like every third photo represents the word from their seed phrase, for example. So there's ways that you can hide that seed phrase in plain sight. Like I said, you could just remember it, but heaven forbid you hit your head and forget it or something like that. Another option would be that you would have like a multi-signature storage. So what that means, instead of having one private key, you have 3 private keys. And then you would need 2 of the 3 in order to do a transaction. And then I could hide those in different places. So for example, I can give 1 to my parents, 1 to my attorney, and I keep 1, for example, or 1 to my girlfriend, or 1 to my business partner, or whatever it is. So you divide up those 3 keys. Now, the key is, no pun intended, is that nobody has more than 1 key. And with 1 key, you can't do anything. So if I keep 1, I give my parents 1, and I give my attorney 1, and I need to do a transaction, I'd have to get a hold of my attorney or get a hold of my parents in order to sign the other key. But neither one of them can do anything because they only have 1 of the keys. Now, of course, you'd want to make sure that the other 2 places where the keys are, they don't know each other. You want to make sure. I could put 1 key in the safety deposit box at one bank and 1 key in a safety deposit box at another bank. So there's any number of ways that you can do that. But like I said, the key is that the person that you give it to, they can't do anything without it. Now, I'm protected, so I don't have to memorize it in my head. If somebody were to break into my house and steal my safe, if somebody were to come in and torture me, they couldn't get access to that. So the Fed, they came in. How did they get it? Well, in the 70,000 Bitcoin, I believe, when they came into the house, the computer was open. The computer was unlocked, and when they went on the computer, they found the key. So it's all about hiding the key. And how do you protect it? In my opinion, I think the multi-signature way is the single best way to do it, but it all depends on how much you have. So if you have a little bit of money, you can put it in your sock drawer. If you have more money, you want to hide it in the wall. If you have even more money, you want to bury it somewhere. If you have even more money, you need a big safe, right? If you have a bunch of gold, maybe you need to build a vault in your backyard. If you have a bunch of gold, you need to build a big vault and have armed security there. So the more you have, the more you need to spend protecting it. Now, the beauty with Bitcoin is that it doesn't matter if you have $1 worth of Bitcoin or $100 billion worth of Bitcoin, it still costs the same amount of money to secure it, meaning you just put it behind a cryptographic key. Now, the amount of time and effort you put into it might vary, right? So obviously, download an app on your Android or iPhone is super easy. Download the app, put it in. Super easy, but it's the least secure way. Doing a multi-signature device doesn't really cost me any more money, but it does cost me more time. I have to figure that out. I have to figure out where to put the keys and things like that. The beauty is, it doesn't matter if I have $1 or $100 billion. It doesn't cost me any more money, unlike gold or cash. But it will take you a little bit more time, and it's up to you to figure out what you want to do to protect that. All right, you've been listening to The Mark Moss Show. Of course, we talk about the decentralized revolution each and every week through the lens of politics, finance, and technology. And that technology is Bitcoin. And it's changing the world rapidly as we speak. We can see the financial system crumbling. We can see the political institutions crumbling. And we can see technology, or as they say, software, eating the world. Digitized books, digitized music, digitized movies. And of course, money is coming next. We've covered a lot of information. We talked about the big news of Binance taking out FTX. We talked about all the latest breaking news. And if you've missed any of it, don't worry, I got your back. Just go on your favorite podcast player and just search The Mark Moss Show. But that's what I got for you today. Thanks for listening. Until next time.